Okay, we're recording this now. You okay over there?
I'm okay. I'm barely hanging on, but I'm okay.
You're listening to the Fight for Together podcast.
Okay, so a little bit of context here. I'll tell you what's going on in my head, and then Cami can tell you what's going on in her head. I'm pouring some wine first. Maybe you should drink some.
Maybe.
It wouldn't hurt. Here, take a
hit.
Here, let me pour it in the microphone to get the sound effect if I can.
I'm not drinking all of that.
Just give it a good old glug or two.
All right. I actually don't really like wine.
Hey, you know, that's not the point right now.
I know. Ben's like, oh, I need her to chill out.
Just a tiny bit. So here's the context.
Bit high strung right now.
This is what we do for you guys. It's 10:39 p.m. We're filming this in our basement, which is cold right now. And it's the kids are all awake. Our toddler won't go to sleep. And not having rules prohibits us from enforcing things, although I was just ready to do it, and Cammy's like, I don't want to. Our teenagers are above us talking on FaceTime with relatives from Yakima, and they only talk in one volume, and it's yelling. And our 7-year-old is playing with Legos right above our head, and someone's taking a shower. So if you hear a bunch of noise around here, that's what I'm thinking about. It's all technical stuff, actually. Cammy, on the other hand, has other things going on. Would you like to share?
Whoa. Oh, not really, actually. But I'll try to be vulnerable. I'm probably PMSing. I feel like I've disappointed Ben. And therefore feel like he's, I don't know, like, it's complicated. I don't really want to get into it.
You were using like strong language before about like what you feel like I'm doing.
I know. I think I make a lot of shit up in my head, especially if I'm kind of really emotional.
Can't I just have my feelings hurt and not want to like be best friends for an hour or something like that?
That's so hard for me. I don't like, especially doing
I'll still
a podcast.
I'll still podcast.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like trying to like perform.
It's not perform. We just talk.
It's still a level of performance.
The only way I got her down here is by saying we all smoke a cigar.
It's still a level of performance, whether you like it or not.
Well, let's try.
I mean, we used to have these. I used to have the same problem when we wanted to hang out. You wanted to hang out with people when we were in a fight, and I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't just. I don't want to do that. I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna do the best we can. That's the context here.
You might get a shitty podcast, but hey, at least we showed up.
And we have none like backlogged, so
this is
it's Wednesday, and we have like it releases on Monday, so we like have to do it. Mm-hmm. But here's some good news. Do you remember that podcast we recorded about going solo? I guess not all of you listen to every podcast. That's our little reality check. I feel like all of you guys.
I don't know what you're talking about. Going solo.
Is that what it's called? Free solo.
Climbing?
No, free solo.
The climbing one?
Yeah, the climbing one.
Yeah.
Like my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
It's back out in theaters, and it's in IMAX at the Levee right now. So I want to see it again.
Okay. I don't think I do.
Oh. That's sad.
Maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. Or maybe I will. I don't know. I'm not super into it to see it a second time, but I would support you if you wanted to.
I think some of our audience might be interested.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this. I saw it twice in theaters.
It was really cool. I just Yeah, that was cool.
Okay, so how about let's talk about some comments from last week. Maybe that'll cheer you up.
Ooh, comments.
I got 3.
Okay.
No, these are good ones.
Good
Let's start
ones.
with this one. Listen to this. BB Mama. Fucking love these podcasts. I need to start smoking cigars when I listen. LOL.
That made me laugh.
See, if that doesn't cheer you up,
That
what
was cool.
will? I mean, so this, I don't know why this made me feel so good. Well, first of all, her profile picture is kind of cute. I feel like I've seen pictures of her before on her YouTube channel. She's a long time FFT regular. And there's people that are against profanity
And cigars.
and
For
cigars.
that matter.
But this is so appropriate. Like, it wouldn't be the same if she was like, I freaking love you guys. Or you guys are really neato. Like, when someone says fucking love these podcasts, that's like, you know? It's just
Yeah.
like,
I can feel the energy.
yeah, you can't, like, convey that any other way. So, excellent use of the English language in communicating a message of warmth.
Of the crude English language.
I totally disagree. I don't think there's anything crude about it. I think it's the level of sophistication in this communication is top notch, and I approve. So there's that comment. Then we got this comment. What does this say? Oh, okay. I am Soaring Eagle says, your long distance callers can call through their computers, not sure about mobile phones, using Google Hangouts for free. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's say hopefully it is. So that phone number, if you would like to leave a message, is 206-651-5744 for this podcast, and we can hear your pretty voices. And we have one voice message to get to at the end of the podcast. And finally, since we're just dealing with messages, let's just like knock them all out right now. Maybe it'll get you out of your funk a tiny bit. We got this one from Lisa Jesse. It says, okay, I need your help. I have tried to get over my disappointment or bad feelings from leaving my religious community, but it keeps creeping into my life. I do not want that bad feeling. I've noticed it creeps into your life too, as it always seems to come up in vlogs. How do we let it go? I believe in God and I'm trying to live my life as I believe He would want me to, but the bad feelings of betrayal and being lied to keep popping up. How do I honor Him and let the other crap go? I know I should forgive and ease the burden on my heart, but I don't want anything to do with established religion. Any ideas?
Maybe it's because where I'm at right now, but I just feel like don't rush it. Like, I think there needs to be a time of grief and loss and anger that's appropriate. And I don't think there's any like scripted time for that. In my life, I do want to like move on, and I see myself moving on, but it's a slow process and it's not all at once moving on. And I think if you don't fully deal with that stuff, you can't really fully move on. You just think you can. So that's my viewpoint. I think even coming from a religious background, I don't really anymore, but I went through several years of just feeling guilty for being angry, being just like not wanting anything to do with the Bible. That wasn't actually true. But certain verses in the Bible that were used against us, that was probably more true. But anything to do with certain type of established religion, anything that would remind me of where we got hurt.
I would say do whatever you need to do to prioritize your health, your mental health in this case, or even your physical health. So if you notice bad feelings start surfacing, hanging around certain places or certain people, get the fuck out and don't feel bad about it. I mean, you can feel bad, feel whatever you want, but you don't have to feel bad. I don't think there's any. I mean, I get it. Like, I get the guilt that comes along with there's relationships where people hold you like they're your friend, and you said you're their friend, and you're supposed to be there until the day they die. And there's these places that if you don't go to, you feel like you're like letting God down, or ignoring some cosmic checklist or something. But
that doesn't exist, in my opinion.
But if it's killing you, like, you got to get mental health. And I don't know, sometimes it's people. So like for us, we had to like really just not hang out with certain folks and be okay with that. And that was a really hard thing at first. I mean, it was so hard. We felt so guilty and like we're letting everyone down. But after like 6 months, we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, it was all manufactured. What's the word? Urgency or necessity or need. I mean, whatever it was, like we stopped hanging out, and like no one missed us as much as we thought. And some people make a big deal about it, but and then whatever you're feeling, you just got to feel it. And maybe, I mean, the best thing that's been for us, I guess we had each other, but was to be around other people that validated our feelings and emotions and reality, and said, yeah, that's a real thing. Like, you should actually listen to that instead of ignore that. Because hanging out in the other world, we had these feelings, and I think this is going to be one of the topics today, so this is a good transition. But we had these feelings, and the vibe I got was like, those aren't really accepted here. So I constantly had to like try and ignore it and shut it down. And you can only ignore and shut down certain parts of yourself for so long before it really becomes dangerous and toxic. I mean, think about that on a health level. If you have, cancer, and you're just like, ignore it, or I don't know, that's a weird example because I don't know if I'd get chemo anyways, but if you're getting fat and gonna die because you're overweight and you just ignore that symptom, that's terrible. Like, you should pay attention to those symptoms. Everyone would say that now. That's Rainier yelling.
I think you say, Lisa, I do not want that bad feeling. And you had bad feelings towards leaving the religious community. I don't know what you mean by bad, but I know I don't see things as bad or good anymore. I think feelings are just feelings, and
maybe it feels bad.
Maybe it feels bad
or painful.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe that's what you're trying to say. It's painful, but I think maybe even what you're feeling is good. Maybe you're sensing something that wasn't right for you in that community, and that's why you had to leave it. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I will.
But what helped us also is just not being alone. I mean, if you're going to be in a shitty situation, I think you might as well be in it with other people,
if possible. Yeah.
So, we didn't have a whole lot. I think we had each other, and then we paid a therapist $270 an hour to listen to us, which is expensive.
He's still listening to us.
And then we found podcasts that actually had stories of people that
not our own.
We just listen to our own podcasts.
Podcasts.
I listen to Cammie talking about her PMS, and it really boosts my morale as I'm driving a racquetball.
Can feel the love.
Can you feel the love
tonight? No, I can't.
No, not here. Not
all right,
feelings
next.
Right now. It feels bad. Okay. So there's that. What else do we have to talk about? So, Cameron, we have a couple options here. So the downside, the upside is you guys get a podcast tonight. The downside is you do not get an organized one. So there's 3 topics I'd like to talk about, and I don't know if we'll cover them all tonight, but I'd like to talk about your parenting with Rainier. Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk about my ex-girlfriend. And I'd like to talk about this idea of suppressing who we really are.
Okay. Sounds juicy.
Let's just go with the ex-girlfriend. That sounds like...
That sounds safe. Right now, especially.
Why not? Okay, so I had this girlfriend in high school, and I was a youth group kid in church, so I had principles. Like, I was kind of a weird high school kid. Like, I was weird, man.
Your beard looks really nice right now.
Thank
I'm
you.
not just saying that. That sounds, yeah. Anyways, your beard looks nice.
I just put coconut oil in it, but I'm getting a little
it's like
frustrated,
highlighting the red. Ben has, well, you probably know this, but Ben has red highlights, natural red highlights in his beard.
Maybe it's the lighting.
No. Okay.
So I had this girlfriend in high school, and I met her from church. Her name was Reagan. I was probably 16. This is like 10th, 11th grade. And I was like really against girlfriends for a number of reasons. Like, I just saw these like people go through these cycles where they would like get all in to this girl and they'd bail on all their friends. And then they would like, you know, I don't know, they'd go through all these like sentimental motions that all seemed like largely fake to me. And then, you know, it'd last a week or a month or maybe a year. And then they'd just do it again, again, again. And I was more of like a bros before hoes type of guy. But lo and behold, this girl came along and I couldn't resist. Ironically, this is not part of the story I was planning on telling. Right before I asked her out, I had this feeling. And it was like, what about Cammie? And like I said, I was like 16. And Cammie wasn't even like returning my letters at this time.
But I had it on my to-do list. I can show it to you right now.
Because she recently went through her old diaries and she found this, but you know what?
For a year, I had it on my to-do list right then.
Really cut it for me. So I was like, what about Cammie? And then I was kind of like, well, fuck her. She's not even talking to me.
Only you didn't use that language back then.
That's true. Well, dang her. So then I asked this girl out, and I knew she was going to say yes because we were close, and she had boyfriends. It wasn't like as big of a deal for her. So we go out for 3 months, and it was like a rockin' 3 months. We kissed. That was the only thing we did physically. I mean, we like kissed for like, I think maybe like 20 minutes once. It was like, but no tongue.
That's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, no, duh, because you won't kiss me.
No, it's the kissing for 20 minutes without tongue even.
Oh, I don't know. That was just our standard. We just felt like that was like...
I know, I'm just trying to figure out... like, put on the 20 minutes.
Dude, when that's all you got, or when that's all you allow yourself to do, it was freaking awesome.
That's true. That's true. I can kind of wrap my mind around it now, but... All right, go on.
So we had this relationship for 3 months, and then she went off to college. She was a year older than me, and she told me in as nice a way as she could that basically I was impeding her college experience of wanting to date other guys.
FYI, other men.
And I was like devastated. So then I picked up this book called Ike is Dating Goodbye, which we've already talked about on this podcast, which basically gave us like spiritual reasoning for why dating was like not good. And
you just got dumped, and then you're like, yes.
Oh, it was like, and I just put that together this week.
Yeah.
That of course, because I'm like, honestly, what's happening is I'm like getting all these comments from my spiritual people with all these Bible verses. And now I can just like see that culture a little bit more for what it is, I think. And basically I see when you come from a certain culture, you will use the Bible or anything for that matter, whether it's political, to defend your point of view. So it's like really convenient. So for me, my heart was broken. I was like, had given validity to the church and spiritual writers. Forget the fact that this kid that wrote the book was 20 years old. I was like, this is gospel. So I read the book, and then, so this is what I want to talk about. This is where I think it gets interesting. I drove back. So Cami was in Washington. I was in California, which is 2 states away on the West Coast, for those of you that aren't familiar out there. And then I moved to Washington, closer to Cami, not to be close to Cami, because Cami still wasn't talking to me.
Whatever. I bet you did.
And then I went back to visit this girlfriend in California. Well, I just went to California, and I ended up visiting her. And I had had this whole conversion about dating after reading I Guess Dating Goodbye. So I met her this one night, and I apologized to her for dating her. Yeah. And I'm thinking that I'm this that's like a good move, because I was now viewing myself as this chivalrous guy. And I had viewed I had robbed her, because I Guess Dating Goodbye, it paints this picture of dating where you have this experience. It's like this whole virginity thing, but I mean, scrap the sexual intercourse part.
Emotional virginity.
Where everything, you're supposed to save yourself for marriage in every way. So, of course, sexually, but emotionally and all this other stuff. And we had been super emotionally intimate, crying and talking late into the night and all that just typical stuff.
Kissing without tongue.
For 20 minutes.
I'm still trying to get over that one.
Dude, it was a good 20 minutes. And if you're ever up for, we
should try it one time. Set the timer, no tongue, 20 minutes. Go.
I don't even, it doesn't matter if there's tongue, but you'd have to go without sex for a long time, because you.
Yeah. No. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I'm willing to do that, to experience that.
Oh. Wow. Okay, well, meet me after the podcast. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I tell her that I'm sorry for dating her, and all I could see was kind of how I was being nice to her by the way I saw it was I took this thing from her, and then I was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have taken this thing. So I'm sorry for taking this thing, And I remember she cussed at me, and this is before I hadn't used bad words, or I don't consider myself very emotional when it comes to confrontation. People that watch our podcast probably know this, or our vlog. I don't raise my voice, generally speaking, and she was I forget what she said, if she's a pile of shit or fucking something or whatever, but it I went into lockdown mode. So I'm at Azusa Pacific University campus, 2 states away from home, and this girl just cussed at me. That was my only love ever in my life that would talk to me. And I was heartbroken again. And I don't know. I don't remember what happened after that. Not much. I think I just went back to Washington, and then.
Weren't you wandering around campus, lonely and without her? And
that could have happened, except for I had a buddy that drove down with me, so he was probably waiting for me. So I probably didn't do that too long. But maybe on a different trip I did that.
You're floor it, hurry, and jump in the car.
So then. 20 years later, of course, we do this podcast on I Guess Dating Goodbye, and we're looking at all the motives and all the beliefs I had, and I'm oh geez, okay, those weren't all good.
Which I had a lot of those same beliefs.
Long story short is I'm thinking back to that experience and how convenient it was that I found I Guess Dating Goodbye. And I was I totally invalidated her experience of dating me. And I knew I was doing that, but I thought I was justified because I thought my experience trumped her experience. But dealing with all these people in the comments, it's making me realize how much of a dick I was. Because the problem with a lot of the spiritual lingo that we are hearing nowadays is it basically... When you believe something that you believe is holier than thou, there always has to be a thou. And you never listen to the thou. So if I believe I'm more right than you, it's my job to preach and convert you, which intrinsically says what I have to say is more valuable than what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm more right than you are.
I'm not going to listen to you or even try to take your point of view seriously.
Yeah, why would you if you consider it wrong? Or yourself right or something. Yeah. So, now I can see, she had, and she told me this at the time. She said, you were an amazing boyfriend compared
even after she cussed you out?
No, it was more before that. Because she had these other boyfriends, and they were kind of like California surfer dudes. And, I don't like to ham myself up, but you think they had this type of beard?
Humble brag.
No, it's not. There's no humble in this brag. This is just brag.
Proudful brag.
Prideful. So now I can see that by apologizing, I mean, it would be like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent, but it'd be like basically me going to the kids and apologizing for the Appalachian Trail and being like, yeah, that was a totally dumb idea that we did that. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't have. And I'm sorry that you did that because I now believe hiking is wrong. Mm. And they're all like, well, we enjoyed that. And what about those people we met? And I'm like, yeah, no, that was like, I know. And I read this book and it was wrong. So I'm sorry that I did that. And so it has a note of humility in that, it's accepting that I was wrong, but the moral code that I'm appealing to is trumping.
It's only taking into account your point of view, not the other person's point of view.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Today I was thinking, should I Facebook message her?
Sorry for
saying and apologize for apologizing.
Oh, man. Wow. I don't know. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. As long as she's okay with you talking to her about that.
Oh, we're Facebook friends.
Yeah.
If you're a Facebook friend of mine,
then
I assume that you're willing for me to apologize for something 20 years ago.
Sorry for being a holier-than-thou person.
Dick.
And completely...
But I mean, really, that was because, I mean, for me, apologies are a way of reckoning the past, not to feel all bad about it, but to really... To me, it's when you come into I don't know.
A truth or realization about something?
Well, when you have to face who you actually were and the damage you actually caused, I think it's what creates and actualizes the positive change that you have to look forward to.
Yeah. So, it could benefit her, but it's going to it definitely will benefit you.
Yeah, I think so, and maybe it will benefit her. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming she's moved on. Although she might be watching this, looking at my beard right now, being like, "Damn, I fucked that one up."
Red highlights. Dang it.
But what can I say?
Yep.
So, yeah. What do you think?
I think go for it. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a good thing for you.
I was going to do it even before this. I was just going to do it today, and then I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of already made up my mind to do it. But it's still going to be a little bit awkward even for me because it's not like she likes my shit or whatever. We haven't talked in 15 years. And even then.
It'll be a little less awkward being that it's just over Facebook messaging. And not in person.
But I think what I wanted to say is hey, sorry for being a dick and invalidating your experience that we had together. And now I look back with fondness and I'm like, I wish I was just able to enjoy that for what it was and not have to write it off as something that was
not to over moralize everything.
Yeah. And okay, now I'm getting outside of my experience, but I feel like this same thing happened all the time. People would get quote unquote saved, and then they would write off everything that happened before they were saved. So let's say they're fucking or drugging or whatever, drinking.
When you say saved,
They like accept Jesus Christ
means-
as their personal Lord and Savior and say some prayer.
and they say
in
some
place.
prayer,
Yeah. So,
join some club.
and I'm not even going to say if that's legitimate or not. I'm just going to say they have this experience, and then everything that happens beforehand gets completely minimized, and it's all tossed in this one bucket of like sinful, pre-saved, selfish, unredeemed hell, basically. And they're like, yeah, I was doing all this stuff, and
If
it was
I could
all
take
bad.
it all back, I would.
But there's probably like legitimate relationships and fun and good things that come out of all those.
They might have even experienced God in that time period, maybe not knowing
Probably
it.
more than after they were saved
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Next topic. Cross that off. Reagan. Done.
Except for you're not done.
Except for I've got an email. Okay, so this next thing, man, do I want to get into this? Yeah, let's do it. Just got to do it. Okay, so I posted this on my Instagram story, so forgive me if you heard this one, but I'm reading this book by Anne Lamott. It's called Bird by Bird. It's like her help to authors. And she writes this chapter, and she titles it Broccoli, and I don't get it. Like, the analogy she uses, I think it's a bad one, but here I am talking about it, so maybe that proves that it was good. But you have to understand this broccoli thing before you get into it. So basically, the paragraph starts, there's an old Mel Brooks routine on the flip side of the 2,000-year-old man. I don't even know what that means, where the psychiatrist tells the patient, listen to your broccoli, and your broccoli will tell you how to eat it. Okay, so listen to your broccoli is the point. Broccoli is like code word, I think, for intuition. So then she says, and I'm just going to read a few like sentences. The problem is that so many of us lost access to our broccoli when we were children, when we listened to our intuition when we were small, and then told the grown-ups what we believed to be true, we were often either corrected, ridiculed, or punished. So we have a friend who we're in a book club with, and she was telling us a story about how she used to pass by homeless people, you know, and she'd want to give them money, and her parents would say, oh, don't, that's dumb, like they're going to be using it for drugs. And that's true, right? I mean, most homeless people, it's not inconceivable that would happen, but there was a good thing about her as a child where she wanted to help someone and give them her money, and she was told not to listen to that voice, and that voice is kind of dumb and stupid, and that the grown-up's voice is smarter and better, so she ought to suppress that voice. And this is in the context of being an author. So there's this voice that we have as an author, and it's so much easier to write about what we want to believe and the way we want to be instead of that voice that's actually in our head that functions.
Or even, I'd say, our vlogs or podcasts. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I think those, I can relate to that.
So, so she's talking about writing, I guess, like fiction or novels, and she's saying, so in her context, she's talking about like writing about a character, because she says, because then the character could come forward and speak and might say something important. It might even be the thing that is most important to him or her. Then she says, sometimes intuition needs coaching because intuition is a little shy. Then she says this line, if your character suddenly pulls out a half-eaten carrot out of her pocket, let her. Later, you can ask yourself if this rings true. Train yourself to hear that small inner voice. Most people's intuitions are drowned out by folk sayings. We have a moment of real feeling or insight, and then we come up with a folk saying that captures the insight in a kind of wash. The intuition may be real and ripe, fresh with possibilities, but the folk saying is guaranteed to be a cliche, stale, and self-contained. Take the attitude that what you are thinking and feeling is valuable stuff, and then be naive enough to get it all down on paper. So the folk saying, I guess an equivalent would be
Bible verses.
homeless people.
Oh. I was going with Bible verses.
Homeless people use money on drugs. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I'm at this point where I'm realizing how much of my intuition I overruled because of, for me, I think it was I let the spiritual community that I was involved in, and I don't want to say it, that makes it sound like it's just a singular church. And there's this like buzz going on. Can I soapbox for a second? There's this buzz going on in our comments where numerous people in the last couple days have been like, oh, it's obvious that you're hurt by a church and that's why you're reacting. And to that I say, one, fuck you. Two, yeah, we've been hurt. Everyone's been hurt. But we've moved past a lot of our hurt, but it's still in our rearview mirror and it's still part of our story. And I think that the system is still hurting people to this day. And I'm motivated to tell our story and relay our hurt in so much as that'll help other people. But I'm not out here like pissing, like piss and vinegar, being like, I'm going to get revenge and bring the system down. No, I'm not. I don't really care. The system can go on. But there's a few people out there that are listening that we hear enough from that say things like, I'm going to read that comment again. They say, fucking love these podcasts. I need to start smoking cigars when I listen. LOL. BB mama. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. What's the clap?
Oh, the clap is...
Clapping is... Yay. Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, so this isn't just coming from pain. That was my soapbox. Where was I? Doesn't matter.
Intuition.
Yeah, intuition. So, after a lot of years of pushing these things down, I'm starting to look back at them now that we've exited the system a little bit, and I'm being like, man, you know, I wish I would have gone with that. I mean, it's impossible. I couldn't have, because the voices around me were too loud and I respected them too much. But yeah, it's just like, oh, maybe I'm not even strong enough to say I was right about that. I'm more saying maybe I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
About that. I mean, let's just take one simple example, okay? Your birth. So
not of Rainier.
No, of Dove.
Oh,
so Dove's birth.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dove 17 years ago we had Dove, and you guys know we're on this like little nudist kick now where we're experiencing freedom with our bodies in non-sexual ways and sexual ways, but especially non-sexual ways, and just being like, this is cool, we can do this. Well, 17 years ago, Cammie had a birth, and it was a natural birth.
To a beautiful baby girl.
Outside of a hospital. It was our first one. We were like 21 years old. We were so young. And we just thought it was the coolest thing. So you know what we did? What every 21-year-old people do. We invited everyone we knew to the birth.
That wanted to come.
We were like, hey.
I invited nursing students. I think 2 of them came.
My friends that were in our wedding, friends, like guys, girls.
Yeah.
We had like, what,
family
10
members.
People? I don't know. We just had a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And it was fucking awesome. Like, we had a pizza party afterwards. Like, we got a
super long labor. So having all those people around, a lot of them were very helpful.
Numerous people came to us after that birth and said it was the most amazing experience they had been a part of. For me, it was the most amazing experience I had ever had in my entire life. We made sweatshirts for everyone that was at the birth and gave them as gifts. They had Dove's feet prints on them. It was just, numerous people said that they wanted now to do a natural birth because of it, which was not our goal.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't trying to convert people. In fact, we didn't even know. Like,
one friend wanted to become a midwife, and I think she did that, or she at least pursued that.
Being a doula.
Yeah.
So it was just like this rad experience. And we had a kid to show for it and friends that were just like felt closer. And then like the next week, like family members came over, religious family members, and gave us this lecture and said, you should have been covered up. And it was crushing because we were like, oh, fuck. Of course we wouldn't have. So we were like, oh, crud.
It's kind of like the comments we get for our AT documentary these days. Most of them are positive. But there's some that are just like, they don't say anything except for, hey, the Appalachian Trail is not the longest trail in the world. That's like all they say. And then you're just like, okay, piss off. But that's what it feels like to me. It's like, we just had this amazing experience, and this is all you have to say about it, is that we should have been covered. I should have been covered up more. I was fucking giving birth.
It doesn't matter though.
I know.
If
I'm
it
just
was
saying,
like,
I have to get on my soapbox for a second.
Well, you got to announce that you're on getting on your soapbox.
All right, on soapbox, I was fucking giving birth. Okay, if there's any time a woman can be nude, which is really any time, but if there's any time, it would be giving birth.
So
off soapbox.
Oh, you're going for that second cigar. We already smoked big cigars today, so I was like, we should smoke small ones tonight, but then you're doing multiple small ones.
That's why you got them out, right?
It's true.
Okay.
So, yeah, so then we had like, because this was spiritual family members that we were older than us, and we like took like really seriously both as spiritual authority and I don't know, we just had a lot of respect for. So when they said something, we didn't like challenge it. It was just like, oh, they must be right, you know, we must be wrong.
Yeah, I felt that, but I also just felt really shitty afterwards too.
Well, yeah, because we felt like we had done something wrong.
Yeah.
And we had let people down and like been a bad example, and you know that what felt like this awesome thing all of a sudden was like tainted. It's like, I don't know, it's like you just had all this awesome sex and someone was like, oh yeah, but you weren't supposed to have that because you're not married to those people, and you're like, oh, so all that was like really not fun actually, or it was destructive.
It feels like it's completely devalidating the whole thing.
So I'm just showing you like one tiny snapshot, but that obviously that's a vivid story for us. But whatever it was that drove us to say, there was a lot of beliefs there. We believed, okay, even then, like I didn't know how to articulate it, but I was like, not all nudity has to be sexual or within marriage or right or wrong. Like there was a beauty in this process, and it felt weird to like let an OBGYN see your vagina in a hospital, but yet a friend that you trust that would actually find a spiritual meaning in a birth would not be allowed because he doesn't have a PhD.
It's not in this medical category.
So something felt wrong. Like I just felt like, okay, I didn't really get it. Like, and this is, you know, this was years before video cameras for us. So, you know, this wasn't a platform. This was just a personal belief.
Right.
And obviously you can fast forward to a point where we film Rainier's birth, and now it has 3 million views. And, you know, it's kind of ironic though, because to this day, one of our most frequent comments we get is from people in Afghanistan writing in whatever the fuck language it is. No disrespect, but I can't read it. It's squiggly lines. And
probably Arabic.
And when you stick it in Google Translate, it says like infidel, burn in hell, like because we're like, giving birth in public. So
all right,
we've been hearing that message for a long time, not in different countries.
You and some other family members believe the same thing. Okay.
So
moving on. We
believed that there was value in nudity. It wasn't even just for nudity's sake, but it was like that code wasn't that wasn't the most important thing. And then because of experiences like that, and there's probably numerous others, like I'll toss out one more, like R-rated movies. My viewpoint with our kids early on was as long as I felt like they could handle it, meaning that it didn't give them nightmares or they weren't going out and replicating the things that they saw in the movie because they couldn't tell the difference between reality and fiction or something destructive to them, that I didn't mind exposing them to violence or certain degrees of nudity. Nudity, I guess back then I was more finicky about for some reason. But violence I wasn't, because I was like, every other culture in the world has seen more violence than we see. Ours is hidden away, and we take it out on video games and we feel pretty safe and sophisticated. But, you know, wars and people dying and getting hands chopped off, like that's normal for international history. So if we're sheltering our kids from these things, like, I just felt like, why should we shelter our kids? Why not show our kids that these things have existed throughout human history and how to deal with pain and suffering? But the message I always got was, no, you're hurting your child. You're ruining your child.
They can't handle it.
No, it wasn't even that. It wasn't even out of the child's interest in a developmental way. It was, that's immoral. That's like black or sin. And if it touches your child, then it makes your child
not innocent anymore.
Black or sinful.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a moral thing. It wasn't a health related thing. But then, of course, morality trumps health and becomes the new health in a way. So we kind of like, once again, I ignored my intuition and we went with what our community and all the people around us and the institutions and the churches were all kind of saying.
It's interesting as I'm thinking. So we didn't stop having people at our birth, males and females. But that was the last birth that I was completely nude at. Which is kind of interesting to me. Makes me, if I ever do have.
Well, you start wearing a sports bra.
Yeah, but it's just interesting. I wonder if that like seeped in, enough that it was like, okay, we'll compromise here.
Well, yeah, that's why you started doing it.
I know, and that's starting to.
Well, you're asking.
Well,
you're making it sound like it's a question.
Well, I'm just realizing it for the first time.
I thought we like talked about it a bunch, where you were like, or I mean, even then it was like, I need to wear a sports bra because, I mean,
we have talked about it, but I'm even Rainier's birth. What was 3 years ago? And part of me is like, well, I guess it's more family friendly, more people might watch it, and blah blah blah. So there's that reason for the internet. But
since you have 3 million people watching your birth,
I know, but now I'm kind of like angry about that. I'm like,
missed opportunity for nudism.
Well, I'm not even angry. I'm just like, man, that sucks, but it is what it is.
So bringing it back around, we are vloggers and authors and just people. I mean, fuck the platform,
yeah, it
I
can
guess.
be anyone.
There's these things that if we can tap into them, and ironically, it's like who we are in our natural state. It's not some super being. It's just like the things that come natural to us. I never set out to like, do that. I just thought birth was amazing. I thought your body was amazing. I thought it was so cool that you could have a baby, and I wasn't hung up on it. And other people were, and I let that get to me. But I think the way that we're built can change the world. Not that that's the goal, but if we can just tap into who we really are before we got jacked by the adults.
Because I believe every person, just by their very existence, is a gift. But I believe every person has gifts that they come into this world with that oftentimes are just silenced or kind of like squelched, like, nah, that's not, or neutered somehow.
So can I share one more? This is a vulnerable one. When she said that allow the character in your novel to pull out the half-eaten carrot out of their pocket, you know what I thought about? Did I tell you this?
I don't know.
I thought about movie popcorn.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me this.
Okay, so I got this idea like 10 years ago. Someone gave it to me. I didn't get it. But I've been using it. For the last 10 years, I have not paid for movie popcorn once, I don't think. It's like $8 a tub. But every time we go to the movies, I get movie popcorn. And this is how. I've never said this online. It's like super embarrassing for me.
We're going to be like barred from AMC's from now on.
Well, I should go to Free Solo and get it one last time before I get kicked out forever. I pull the largest tub, the one with the free refills, out of garbage cans.
And I think maybe once you couldn't find it, but I think
yeah, there was that one time.
What is this, like 50, 100 times? Every single time we've gone, for as long as you've done this, you've been able to find it. And at first I shamed Ben for it. I was like, oh.
And then you're like, oh, so
And I'm
sorry.
like, and I'm like, I shame you for it, and then I stuff my face.
Yeah. And I try and shake them off, like wipe the germs off a little. But, you know, honestly, I don't even give a fuck about germs. Really. If we're going to be really honest. And this is one of those things, I just like knew how people would see that. But like when I think about it from an outsider's perspective, it's what makes me an interesting character. And even if it doesn't, fuck it, it's true.
It's
you know, it's
part
me.
of who you are.
And people don't get it because they think, oh, you just do it to save money, and you're just a cheapskate, or you're whatever, blah, blah,
You're
blah.
using other people.
And I'm like, you know
whatever.
what? You don't understand me. Like, I mean, I don't even understand myself, but it's more complicated than that. Like, what makes me do that is I don't care about germs. I do care about money. I do care about value. I enjoy popcorn. I like the experience of movie theater. So, I mean, I was a millionaire in doing this. You know, I mean, that's what's kind of funny.
That's crazy,
because I was making
yeah.
more than $1 million a year at the
That
time.
just shows you money can change people, but at the heart of a person, money doesn't do jack shit.
Because we haven't even
It's
talked
like,
about we lived
people
for
are
a
people.
year out of a dumpster, and when I was making more than $1 million a year, I was like, I had a personal assistant, and I thought about hiring him to go to the dumpster to get the food because I knew how much good food was in there. I didn't want to see it go to waste.
Yeah.
But that's a story for a different time. But so what I'm doing, I have this list here that's called things I intuited early on and was told to ignore or suppress. And when I think of something, I just got to write it down. And so far, I've thought about 3 things that I've put on there. And I just think that if I can get more in touch with that, I think it'll make me a better writer, and I think it'll make us better vloggers and like shed some of the falseness that we've adopted that we thought was good. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even saying it was bad. You know, people can they can cover themselves up at births. Go for it. I'm not going to stop them. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean we need to.
Yeah.
So I have one clip I want to play for you guys that I heard this week, and I think it kind of relates to this.
So are you going to go nude the next time I give birth?
If the homeschool moms want, I want to do whatever that makes the crowd happy, you know. But so the context of this is from the James Altucher podcast, and he's interviewing an author who's named James Frey, who is like a best-selling author that was like on some Oprah list, wrote some book called A Million Little Pieces or something. Controversial guy. And he is being interviewed about his process after reaching success from writing some books. It's a longer clip. It's about 2 minutes long. It'll keep your attention.
I was just depressed. I felt awful, and despite whatever success I had, and despite having a family I loved and friends I loved, and what from the outside is a great life, I was just fucking depressed, and I just wanted to die. And I would wake up every day and get in my car and think about driving it into a tree. And I would climb into bed at night and I would think about taking a whole bottle of Tylenol PM and never waking up. And I was just fucking depressed. I have this therapist who I have I think a pretty unconventional relationship with. I don't see him regularly. I call him when I feel like I need to talk to him, which sometimes is twice a month and sometimes once a year. And the first time I saw him, I said, listen, I'm not here to talk to a fucking wall. Like, I expect this to be a conversation. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinion. And I want your advice. And so I was depressed, and I called him, and I told him basically what I just told you. I wake up every day, and I want to fucking die. And he sort of laughed, and he said, well, I have a couple questions for you. I said, what? He goes, what? Do you have your earrings in? And I don't know if you can see, I have 6 earrings, right? And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, what kind of clothes are you wearing right now? And I said, oh, I'm wearing khakis and a Izod polo shirt. And he said, where are you? And I said, I'm at my office. He said, the office where you write or the office where you run your company? And I was like, the office where I run my company. And he's like, and how's Connecticut? I was like, it's good. He's like, that big house of yours, it's okay? I was like, yeah. He was like, the reason you want to fucking die is because you forgot who the fuck you are and you miss who you are. He said, go home and put your earrings back in and take off that polo and put on a t-shirt and stop going to the office of the company and go to the office where you write and write a fucking book. He said, the version of you I knew would make fun of the version of you that exists today.
Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. Look at this improvement that we got. It's a new sound effect.
Nice.
Dude, that's the bomb dropping.
Appropriate.
Because we needed that a couple weeks back, and now we have it.
Nice.
And that's perfect for that, because that's a fucking bomb.
Wow. That's really powerful.
What do you think?
I think I need to get a tattoo.
Okay.
You already know this.
Well, I know you talked about it, but and you're talking like a thigh tattoo.
I'm running out of real estate.
No, you're not.
I can't put it on my arms. It's too big for my arms.
Okay, you got a ton of space. Let's just talk.
You said I shouldn't put it on my back. And I don't even want to put it on my back because then I won't be able to see it. And I want to be able to see it.
Okay. That's what you took away from that?
Well, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Really?
Well, it's like, be who you are. Like, who are you? Don't try to be someone else.
Yeah.
I've been told all my life I'm good, nice. I smile a lot.
And now you're getting
compliant.
A big leg tattoo?
You're acting as if I don't have any tattoos.
I'm just in shock.
I think you might not want me to get a tattoo on my leg because you like my legs or something.
I love your legs.
Oh, well, we can talk about it. I'm willing to compromise. Well, am I? That guy compromised, and look what happened to him.
He wanted to kill himself.
Yeah, maybe it shouldn't compromise.
So,
anyways.
I don't know. What I heard from that, I want to get a tattoo on my face.
No!
Is, there's just a high cost. Like, you can shove it. You can shove who you are down. But, I mean, that's what, this guy, he's not being dramatic, I don't think. Like, in fact, there's a part that I cut off because it's long, but he's talking about, he was highly successful and he was he thought about it all the time, like how to kill himself. And I think that's the cost on some level, and it sounds dramatic, but if we deny our needs and who we are and what we were made to do and just play a part, I think it actually severs our soul. And
well, psychologically, I'm no psychologist, but I wonder if he was trying to kill that part of himself that wasn't even himself, and actually committing suicide would kill all of him. But that's interesting.
That's deep.
Yeah, deep.
Okay. So yeah, that is that little piece. And now it is time to go to the phones.
Hi, Cammie and Ben. This is Kathy in Wisconsin, and I was wondering, Cammie, if you could talk a little more about your communication style. I think it was in the beginning minutes of episode 15. You talked a little bit about how your communication style, I think it has something to do with your personality and how it's changed over time, or how you've grown in that area. So I'd just like to hear more about that. Thanks. Bye.
I don't remember talking about it, but I probably did. I think as I've changed, as a person, especially the last couple years, especially the last year. I've noticed myself not second guessing my thoughts. And so I think I'm more direct than I used to be. I'm more honest than I used to be. I've actually really seen this in replying to comments. I used to read comments and then answer the like fluffy ones, and then
you wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, okay, I wouldn't even do that. But the really negative ones, or the somewhat negative ones, or the triggering ones, I would feel paralyzed and just I couldn't deal with them.
Can I give you a prompt here?
Yep.
Okay, 4 years ago and beyond, Cammie was so timid and afraid of everyone and everything and did not have any opinions of her own. Go. I think that's, it's a little, I'm phrasing it a little dramatically, but not really.
Yeah. So I think I started owning my, I don't know how you would say it, like owning my own thoughts, owning my own opinions, having opinions, and then owning them, and then not second guessing them so much. And then I think I have more confidence, which has allowed me to just communicate, period. I think so much was locked up inside of me. I think I did have opinions, but they were completely I was completely I was not in touch with them at all.
You didn't know what they were. No one knew what they were.
No.
And everyone just thought you were like this really nice person, and you were, but you weren't. You were afraid of everyone because being nice wasn't. I don't even think it was like really who you are. Mm-mm. You played a role in who you thought people wanted you to be.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of energy for you.
Yeah.
Now, and we joke about long-haired Cammie versus short-haired Cammie, and now there's like medium,
fluffy eagle-haired Cammie.
Right now it's a little weird, but it's night and day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so crazy. Yeah, I don't even know,
because you don't take shit from me either.
It's crazy, like being a different person at 38. It's like, what the fuck happened? I wish. Well, I do have a therapist, but I wish I could have someone like. I mean, I kind of know what happened, but I don't even know. I can't recognize myself. Like, it feels good. Like, the skin I'm living in right now feels good. Like, it feels like who I am. But I've lived this other way for so long that it's like I'm looking at a completely different person. I'm like, hey, hi, how you doing? Who are you?
Oh, it's unrecognizable. And people that knew the old you, there's some people that have family that won't even talk to you now, or have basically disowned you because
I've changed.
They don't like the new you.
Yeah.
So it's been very costly.
Yeah, although it has, and I shouldn't downplay that, but I feel like it's, I don't know if that would have come first, or if they didn't like you first, so then.
No, this has nothing to do with me. I mean, I'm a whole nother issue, but a lot of these relationships, they're you.
Yeah, that's.
And I don't think you can underplay it, because I think that's the reason why you didn't change really for close to 15 years plus. Actually, like most of your life, you had this certain stereotype or archetype that you fit into, and everyone thought we knew you. And then you busted out of some shell.
That's right. No, I'm a fluffy eagle.
And we need an eagle sound effect now. Next week.
That's probably not. No, an eagle sound effect's like really high piercing, right?
So it's, from my perspective, I know this person was not asking my perspective. She said, I want to hear from Cammie, but it's been hard because it's very disruptive. Like, the old way worked very nice.
Yeah.
But this new Cammie is so much better. because it's actually her.
I had someone in the comments say to me recently, "You're not as nice as maybe you think you are, Cammie." And I have to tell you, that disturbed me. But mostly, it made me so happy. I was like, finally, I'm not just the nice girl. I don't know, like something about that made me feel more who I am. Because I think underneath all that niceness, I wasn't really that nice. I was just being nice because that worked for me for 35 years.
Until
And now I'm a
didn't.
bitch. No. I'm just kidding. Sometimes. But I'm okay with that.
Okay, next phone call.
What?
Oh, you know what that is? That's the sound of crickets. Because
you guys just got cricketed.
you know what they did to us? You know what the sons of bitches did?
We need more Jamie. Is it Jamie from Australia?
Yeah, Jamie, she called and left us 3 messages.
Us up, man. Jamie, come back to us.
Are there any other bisexual Australian
gamers?
Females? Gamers.
Okay, but if you don't identify that way, you can still call in and leave 3 messages.
But seriously, you guys, I mean, with all we've been through, and you do that to us. I mean, I don't like to blame, and I tried not to, but I've got to call a spade a spade at a certain
Did we make
point.
it easier for them to call
Yes.
in? Okay.
Yes,
so you guys have no excuses.
No, they have the Anchor app, which is anchor.something. It's in the description, and phone number, which is in the freaking description, which is 206-651-5744. Here, I'll pause so you can write it down. 206-651-5744.
I want to say thank you. Who left that message?
I didn't catch your name. We could probably hear it if we play it again. Let's play it again because we have.
Hi, Cammie and Ben. This is Kathy.
Kathy. Thank you, Kathy, for that message and question.
Ooh, way to be positive. Because we could do the, instead of shaming our audience, we could be positive and just like super give rewards to the people that.
That's right.
But that's manipulation too. We're learning with kids.
Uh-huh.
Oh well, lose. Okay, that's all for this week. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Wrong one. Nope.
Thank you for listening to Fight for Together. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, Mama let you stay up.
Hey, it might be time to go night-night now. It's almost midnight.
Cake.
Oh, you made a cake?
Yeah, Phil made it.
Flea made it?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see it. Okay, there's the cake. Time to go night-night now.
All right, let's pick up first.